Today here on Off the Fields, we're sitting here with Jamar Denson. He's one of the top 22 athletes out of all of South Florida. You were honored at the Tournament of Champions 29th annual All South Florida award ceremony the other day, right? That's how you got this big trophy. Mm-hmm. Just talk about what that meant to you.
You know, it meant a lot to me. It showed that my hard work actually paid off and my talent isn't going unnoticed.
Yeah, and congratulations on such an honor, right? What was your reaction when you found out that you were selected?
I mean, I wasn't shocked, but I kind of knew I deserved it because I've been putting in the work day in and day out. I kept the main thing, and I just kept working.
And I mean, coming from a powerhouse program like American Heritage, right? Just talk about how being in that environment, playing at a high level when it was game time, what did you learn from that experience? What is your biggest takeaway?
I'll say the biggest takeaway is the brotherhood that we have at American Heritage. When we lost our quarterback, we still stuck together and stayed strong. So right there, I knew we had something good. I knew we were going to go all the way and make it to the championship.
Yeah, because a lot of people thought that you guys weren't because you guys lost Diabel. But you guys, overcame that adversity. Talk about the championship experience this year, right? What was the most challenging part about getting to that moment and then finishing off that game, taking home the win?
I'll say the most challenging part was, when we lost Dia, we had to put our receiver Koi Ginoel at quarterback, and when we played in the car, one of the top 10 teams in the country, but we still overcame the adversity. Even though we lost, we still held a great game. But when we made it to the championship, we kind of knew we were going to come away with the W because we just came in there confident. And, we worked all week in practice for it. We prepared. Coach Mike and our coaching staff, they prepared us for that moment right there.
Yeah, and I mean, that's on the field, right? But off the field, you were also honored academically, So just talk about how you continue to excel off the field, because that matters even more as you keep elevating and as you go to Troy.
Off the field, I just keep focused in the classroom and keep my head on the right path, stay on track with my work, I make sure I turn my work in early, study for the test, and, I try to give back to my community, making sure that I give back, because when I was a kid, I looked up to people in high school as well.
Yeah, you see a lot more athletes doing that, doing turkey drives or backpack drives, things of that nature. What would be your idea of giving back when it's your turn? What is something that you've been thinking about doing?
I've been thinking about doing a toy drive or a backpack drive for back to school, for Christmas, a toy drive, because some kids, they aren't really blessed and favored to have those type of things. Some kids come from the struggle, and, I just want to give back to those kids and those families. But
a lot of greatness comes out of the struggle, right? And that helps build character off the field, right? So when you were being honored academically at the Tournament of Champions award ceremony, just talk about what that meant to you, because you're representing your community, your family, and that's a big responsibility. So what does that mean to you?
It means a lot to me. From where I come from, I wasn't always the biggest or the strongest or the fastest, but I kept my head down and grinded. And it means a lot to me and my family, because it shows that the money that they put into me is finally paying off. I'm going to school for free. Yeah. Playing at the D1 level is like God blessed me with all those abilities, and it's just a dream come true.
Because going D1, there's nothing wrong with JUCO, because some football players have to go JUCO and then get into D1. There's nothing wrong with that. But when you can start off at D1, it sets you apart too. So just piggybacking off you being into, getting into Troy. You had another offer at one point, but when it came to Troy, what was it that you felt was a great fit for you at Troy?
I felt like the camaraderie and the coaching staff, they just showed me a lot of love. I went up to Troy 3 times before I ended up committing to Troy, mm-hmm. and they just showed me a lot of love. They showed my family love. They made sure they took care of us,
Yeah.
And they were the most consistent.
Yeah.
And I like Coach Banks and Coach Parker, because they're gonna give it to you the real. Like they're not gonna sugarcoat anything with you. They're gonna tell you what it is and what it's not. So that's why I really like Troy.
Yeah, and then academically, right? Do you know what you're going to study when you get to college?
Yes, I'm gonna be studying business and sports management when I get to Troy.
That's really cool because, you know, it's always good to have a plan B, C, D, E. It's like you have to keep going these days. It can't just be football anymore, right? So what is something that you want to do as far as with those two majors?
You know, I want to run my own business, you know, because I have a lot of business background in my family. My dad, he runs his own tax accounting firm.
Okay.
So, you know, I just try to learn from him what he instills in that.
Yeah, and take a lot of entrepreneurship classes too, because that's really going to help build that type of portfolio. But I'm so glad that you can join me on Off the Fields, because I've talked with you before, earlier in the season, before you guys lost your quarterback and stuff like that. So for you to reach this point, it really speaks volumes. So I want to say I'm super proud of everything that you've accomplished this far. Not only congratulations, but good luck on your next journey, because you've elevated to the next level, and you're going to keep elevating as long as you keep the same type of mindset. So thank you, and good luck.
Thank you.